And we are live. Hi guys, I'm Mike. This is F1 Fanatics and welcome back to another race live stream. And wow, I'm still trying to kind of figure out what the hell happened at the end there. There were kind of tyres failing left, right and centre. That was absolutely mental and a crazy end to British Grand Prix. And I think some classifications are still up in dispute. I've heard something that Red Bull are going to be protesting the result. That's crazy on there. But anyway, with our kind of race reaction live streams, or usual, I'll kind of run through the result of how it currently stands. We'll try and talk and obviously be in the comments and chats working out what the hell we've just kind of seen there. I mean, mental. Charles Leclerc has got a podium again. The Ferrari has been awful this year, and Charles Leclerc has got a P2 and a P3 out of 2 out of 4 races. How has this happened? Max Verstappen somehow got a P2, potentially could be a P1 if the appeal is successful in terms of that. Hey, JWF1, thanks for joining in the chat. Hey, Craig Taggart, go from there. Hey, Fergus, crazy from there. Hi, Sam O'Gara, Lando Bot. Brilliant. Yeah, rest in peace, Bottas. I mean, poor Bottas' season has gone. He drove a decent race, not good enough to kind of challenge Lewis, but yeah, a decent race. And also, what we got to remember next week is it's an even softer compound of tyres. So, will we have more tyre blow-ups? I don't know. Certainly, there's going to be interesting. Maybe definitely 2-stop strategies next week. I do think the kind of second safety car really stuffed the race for most of the races of the contest. But anyway, just going to quickly tweet out, guys, that we are live. And then, obviously, I will get straight into trying to decipher what the hell kind of went on there. So there we go. Copy the link. Tweets live. Okay. Right. Live timings. Let's try and figure out where everyone's supposed to finish, because there was crazy goings on with the race anyway. Okay. So as things currently stand, Lewis Hamilton has extended his British Grand Prix victories to 7 Grand Prix victories. Fantastic race from Lewis, apart from that late puncture at the end with Verstappen catching him in there. Verstappen, P2. Leclerc, P3, completing a very unpredictable podium. Daniel Ricciardo, P4. Lando Norris, P5. Esteban Ocon, P6. Gasly, P7. Albon recovers to P8. Lance Stroll, not a great race at all for Stroll. His tyres went at the end, P9. Vettel, P10, for rounding off the points. Bottas could only manage P11, trying to overtake Vettel at the end, but couldn't manage it. Russell, P12. Sainz, P13. Giovinazzi, P16. Latifi, P15. Grosjean, P16. Really, Grosjean had again. That'll go from there. Hi, Josh. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for getting that one in early. Raikkonen just hating life, I think, at the moment. Had a damaged front wing from there. Kvyat, unlucky. Had a kind of rear tyre failure that kind of made him have quite a nasty crash. Hulkenberg didn't even get to start the Grand Prix. Poor Hulk. And Kevin Magnussen got punted out of the race early from Alexander Albon. Let's come on to that later. Wow. So first initial thoughts of the race. It started off good on track battles and stuff like that. Then obviously we have the first safety car from the Albon and Magnussen incident. And then from there, then Kvyat's tyre failure brings out a second safety car, brings out everyone having pit stops, which then led to pretty much the pit stop strategy going out the window for the rest of the race. Kind of null and void. Everyone kind of kept positions. There was a few position changes. Gasly was having a great race. Stroll was kind of dropping like a lead balloon. Really couldn't find performance in that racing point today. But maybe, McLaren and Renault have already overtaken them with the upgrades that they brought this weekend. Certainly be interesting on that one. Hi, Deanna Troy. And there, when I raced in the military motorsport, getting a puncture would have been the black and white flag. And if we failed to pit on that lap, it would have been disqualified because it's a safety issue. Seeing all those punctures happen on the last few laps, it's a bit concerning, really. Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Was very concerning seeing him out of guys from there. That Merc is the same number of wins as the P34 Tyrrell with half the wheels. Oh dear, brilliant. In terms of that, but geez, what in terms of that happened? Yeah, that lull and just those tire failures, like Diana was saying, very scary. Will Holt get minus points for not starting? I believe he does in fantasy, and I was saying before it didn't save my changes, and yeah, Hulkenberg for me was my turbo driver as well. For it, so that's double minus points. So not a great weekend on there. Sam O'Gara, Daniel Ricciardo driver of the day. I don't think I can disagree with that. Is one of the drivers. I thought Daniel Ricciardo was absolutely brilliant today, and he may still get a podium if Hamilton is disqualified or given a 10-second penalty for driving with a dangerous car. Welcome to chat, Katie. Charles Deff out driving that Ferrari again. Really happy he got a podium. For me, yeah. Driver of the day has to be in between Ferrari and Ricciardo. Brilliant performances by both of the drivers today. Crazy on that. Abe Bandit, it was like Cars movie, the ending. It was like a movie. You know, it was like, everything was going normal. You know, Lewis Hamilton, the guy, he's just going to rock up. He's going to get another win. Whoa, tyre puncture. Let's go. I honestly don't know what to make of that. McLaren's looked like they had good race pace. Daniel Ricciardo definitely had enough pace to beat one of the McLarens, and maybe, you know, that was the early sign. Well, again, not excuse the pun, it's not sign of signs. The signs were there with signs, because I've said signs far many times. But, you know, he said he was feeling vibrations when McLaren were telling him to push the car, and then next minute, you know, his tyre's gone. Bottas, I don't feel sorry for him, because Lewis was brilliant today. Okay, again, was fantastic performance. But Valtteri Bottas, you know, he didn't really push Lewis Hamilton all the way, but he did what he needed to do, finishing in P2. And yeah, honestly, that tyre failures, I'm still trying to come to terms with it from there. Max Verstappen getting P2, damage limitation for Red Bull now that it's second, third, second, in the rare circumstances that somehow they bring some upgrades that give Max a fighting chance to win Grand Prix. It's not the worst. Maybe he isn't entirely ruled out of a title fight, but maybe that's been me ultimately optimistic. Sam O'Gara, hey Casey, which of the Haas boys finished ahead? Oh no. Falshabrat, not going to lie, was half expecting some drama after looking at the blisters on Bottas tyres. Yeah, I mean, I saw the blisters and I was like, you know, it looked bad, but I didn't expect the tyre to just pretty much blow up on him. It was pretty scary stuff, definitely on that front. Yeah, I mean, Lewis, how he managed to get that car round that last lap. I mean, I know he had a 30-second advantage over Max Verstappen because he pitted for tyres, but here's a question. You know, would Max's tyres have exploded? If they wouldn't, we don't know. But he would have won that race, and that would have been crazy to kind of comprehend. You know, Max had somehow walked away with winning the race, and Mercedes still somehow maintain a 100% win record on that. I don't think it's going to be taken away, but I guess we will know. I'm not sure if it's under on there. Personally, I think Max should have stayed out and gone for it. Yeah, I mean, if they saw one Mercedes blow up, but maybe, you know, Alex Albon had 2 pit stops himself. He was struggling with the tyres. Maybe they just felt that, you know, they're obviously privy to a lot more data in the Red Bull garage than we are just watching as fans. Maybe Max's tyres were on the verge of blowing up and they had to go safety on that. But yeah, you're not sure. Race wins there. P2, it's not bad. Still from there. Antshit is awesome. Stroll was horrible. I think there were a lot of, as well as some amazing performances, like we say, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, a very good performance again. You know, just basically driving a race of his own as things currently stand. Daniel Ricciardo, brilliant race. Pierre Gasly had an absolutely fantastic race in that AlphaTauri today. I think, yeah, really brilliant race from there. Esteban Ocon having his best race in the Renault so far. Certainly going from there. Gasly's overtaken Vettel in the standings. Seb is now 13th in standings. Wow. I didn't see that. I took Gasly out my fantasy team last minute. I mean, I think Gasly's looking like a solid bet in fantasy. If you can find some way of working him into the team, it's going to be interesting, certainly on that aspect. But yeah, wow, just how everything has dropped off the cliff. Tom D was about Gasly being that thing. Abu Pandit again, bad performance from Albon. What, JB, welcome to the chat. Whoa, what a finish. Exactly. Whoa, what a finish in terms of that. Abby, I'm sure we'll come on to Albon, but I want to try and say positive, talk about positive performances as much as possible to go from there. Lando Norris, another strong performance from him. Although, what do you think of the trophies, Mark? I thought the trophies, actually, they're brilliant. I love the look of the trophies. They look a really kind of classy one. I really did kind of like that. Craig's making a very good point that next weekend, obviously, we are on softer tyres. So are we looking at potentially 2-3 stops? And I think the temperatures are meant to be hotter. Go on, Mike. You know you want to take the piss from... I'll get round to Alex Albon, don't worry. But there is certainly there. Like I said, Lando Norris, again, very strong performance. And Carlos Sainz, I feel sorry for them. This was Carlos Sainz's best race of the season so far. I definitely think on that front. And just his tyres giving up on him. He's unlucky. It looks like it could have happened to anyone of those guys who stayed out. They were just kind of tyre failures everywhere. So, he was unfortunately the unlucky one who lost that. But yeah, both McLarens, the upgrades they've bought look like it's moved them up. Did Ferrari bring any upgrades? I didn't see any upgrades. But Charles Leclerc is... Yeah, I still can't get my head around that. Amazing. In how that Ferrari has looked to drive and handle this year, I'm still in disbelief that Charles Leclerc has got 2 podiums this year. I mean, it's crazy. Infinite 2K, everyone will not take the risk, trust. I don't think anyone will take risks next week from there. From Endo, welcome to the chat. What a crazy bookended race. That's F1 for you. It's unpredictable. You can have a race that just looks like it's going normal, looks like it's just going to be quite a boring race for Silverstone. There was some good on-track action, but it looked like pretty tame for most of the race. And then, bam, whatever the hell that was. Absolutely crazy. Actually, it's awesome. Perez will really miss 2 weekends where he could have benefited from his tyre management skills. Absolutely, Anshit. That is even bigger. But, as much as, Perez went for... I mean, I've seen some rumours that he was actually in Italy on holiday as well. So that's not confirmed. So I don't want to kind of be too harsh on that. But he definitely went to Mexico to see his mum. And, that's understandable in terms of there. But he takes the risk. And unfortunately, he's paid the ultimate price. And, if I was Perez with all the rumours going about, I think I would have just been like, I've got to just kind of put my head down and go because, Perez could have really had a great result. But I think with how bad a performance Lance Stroll had today, I don't know where that racing point is. Has it fallen behind the McLarens and Renaults, or did Stroll just have a bad race? It is interesting terms on that front. Why should who get a penalty? Infinite. One tan, bring Gasly back to Red Bull. I think we're probably going to be talking about that. Go from there. Like I said, I'm trying to push off Albon as much as possible because it wasn't impressive from him at all and not the race that he needed. This race is exactly the one in which Checo would have thrived. Absolutely. Could have even ended up on the podium. I don't know where he would have been in relation to Leclerc. But yeah, certainly we're going for that. Did Hamilton get the puncture before the pit entry? Yes. Hamilton had the puncture before the pit entry, and he took he had it going into Vale, I'm pretty sure. and then went round the last corner and started the last lap going from there. So I don't know. Yeah, is anyone, you'll obviously, I'm with you live stream on the chat. I've got the TV in the background, but obviously can't hear too much. So if anyone does know if there is a penalty for Hamilton, let me know in terms of that. What happened to Seb? Why was he so slow? Just struggled all weekend.
I don't think there is a penalty.
No penalty?
I can't see anything about it.
Absolutely. Okay. Stephen says no penalty. Bang. Job done. Lewis won the race. Fantastic. Managing to get the race car around from there. Brilliant race from Hamilton as always. Going from there. Heartbreak for Bottas and Sainz. Absolutely. Tevin Trung. It was heartbreak for them. They drove in solid races themselves. Sam's going, he should get a penalty for dangerous driving. Many streaks of fantasy gone. Bottas, Mercedes, Sainz, Hulkenberg. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Jeez, I didn't even think that the Mercedes streak had gone in fantasy. Interesting one from there. Haas tactics were entertaining. Roman Grosjean today. Look, last year, I was a big advocate. Last year, Grosjean was getting a lot of stick, but I think I don't think his motivation's in F1 anymore, because Magnussen is performing to a pretty reasonable standard in there. Admittedly, Albon damaged his front wing in Hungary, so he couldn't take full advantage of that kind of good strategy call that Haas made. But Grosjean today was just dangerous driving, and like Albon obviously will get into the stage of reckless driving, causing incidents, but yeah, he's an experienced driver. He can't be doing that. It's just Grosjean just looks like this season that he's stayed a season too long. And I tried to defend him, and I wanted him to do well this year, but man, he's making it difficult. It is difficult up there. Red Bull screwed up. Pitting from Liam Talks F1. Welcome to the chat. I don't know. Like we said, we're not privy to that data. I don't know how close Max's were to kind of jumping off a cliff as well. Daily Snell, welcome to the chat. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for coming in there. Even though Hamilton probably deserved that race, his luck is unbelievable. Hamilton makes his own luck. He definitely deserved the race on that front and go from there. Motorsport Fanboy, obviously that's Viandra. If you want to check out Viandra's channel, it is called Motorsport Fanboy, so definitely kind of go from there. So many people defending this race is basically taking tips from K-Mag. Brutal on K-Mag defending, but probably fair at times in terms of K-Mag is an aggressive defender. Samagar Grosjean, I like him, but it's tough. It really is tough to defend Grosjean on days like today. It was player. On F1 Play, I was on point to get something like 6 or 7 out of 10, then Bottas got a puncture. Oh dear. Do people play F1 Play? F1 Play is actually a very good game actually for people to make 10 predictions, I think it is. And if you get those 10 predictions right, then you'll be able to go to a Grand Prix in the 2021 season for free, paddock passes. So definitely worth doing it. Obviously, it's difficult. Kvyat deserved a shot, in my opinion. Is this for the Red Bull seat? Antshit, I'm not sure. I might have missed that from there. Hamilton is so lucky that even if you put him in a Williams, he will win. No, a little bit like that. Look, Hamilton definitely makes his own luck. Yes, he's got fortunate there that his car has managed to kind of find somehow of getting to the line. But let's be honest, it's because he's absolutely dominated the race that he had that much of a margin anyway. How would you set up your tyre stop strategy for next weekend after what happened today? On the softer compounds, I've no idea. If I'm being honest with you, I would bank on having maybe expecting 3 stops and 2 stops if you're lucky. Ferrari whining about Hamilton penalties. Oh dear. Well, I think they all just want to kind of damage Mercedes' advantage, because I don't know what the development race will be like. We've said COVID-19 means that development will be slow throughout this season, but can Red Bull and Ferrari, I mean, it's a huge gap to close, but can they develop through the season and improve that car? I don't know in terms of that. I don't think Albon is a talented driver, and in the Toro Rosso we'd be viewing Albon a lot differently. Albon is definitely okay. We've kind of backed off the elephant in the room for long enough now. I'll talk Alexander Albon. I've seen some people trying to defend it as a racing incident and go from there. Alexander Albon, for me, goes for risky overtakes. And some people say, well, maybe probably quote the center line, is it like going, if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver. I think that's, something along those lines. But there are good drivers know when to overtake. And Alexander Albon isn't a good overtaker, in my opinion. Suzuka last year, he basically used Lando Norris as a brake, smashing into him there. There's Austria GP going around the outside of Hamilton. He runs the risk. It's a risky move. I think that's one that's fair enough to kind of go for. But Albon has this style of overtaking where he puts his car in this position and he expects people to move for him and then acts surprised when they don't move for him. You can't race like that. You've got to be able to adapt. And I'll use Lando Norris as a comparison. I can't think, other than obviously Albon punting into him in Suzuka last year, I can't think of any kind of racing incidents that Lando Norris has kind of got involved with in contact. And he's been involved in a lot of midfield action and a lot of overtakes. And, he's what I call a very good overtaker who's come in as a young driver. Alex Albon, he's got to learn that I think Martin Brundle said it, that talking about the Hamilton Albon incidents at the Austria Grand Prix at the time, where he's like going, you've got to also defend your car as well as attack with it. And at the moment, Alex is only attacking with his car. And what he did on Magnussen, on the first lap, you don't win a race in the first lap. He's got a long race ahead of him. He's had a bad start. He's fallen behind Kevin Magnussen from the start. So that's not brilliant. So he's trying to regain that position as quickly as possible. But he rushes these sort of moves. And I saw some people thought the penalty was harsh. It's not. Look, if you take someone out the race, you can't moan you get a 5-second penalty. If it's a racing incident, I don't think there's too much complaints anyway. But you can't complain getting a 5-second penalty for that. He was never going to realistically overtake Magnussen in that position. Yes, Magnussen had run wide and left the door open a little bit. But, Hamilton in Brazil 2019 got a 5-second penalty because Albon left the door open and did a similar sort of move and lunged and kind of put his car there and caused, Albon to lose his race. It's exactly the same. You can't do this from there. And Red Bull have really, this is where the blame falls at the door of Red Bull, because they promoted Pierre Gasly when he was too inexperienced for that seat. They definitely have promoted Alexander Albon with him being too inexperienced to that seat. And now I don't know where you go, because if Alexander Albon stays the length of the season, I can see his confidence being crushed to the point and performances that his F1's career is over. Because mentally, he looks like a guy who takes everything to heart. And, I feel sorry for the guy because he's clearly so out of his depth in Red Bull. And, I know people are defending him and saying, give him time. I'm sorry, but you're in the second quickest car on the grid. Max Verstappen's got a P2 today, and he was like 7 or 10 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc. Like, can you imagine if Albon is actually, as a teammate, getting the car up where it should be? Red Bull would have had a double podium today. And that's what should have realistically happened. Instead, he's somehow managed to get into the points, late on into the race. But if you chop Albon the season, is Gasly ready to go back into that Red Bull seat? Because you can't bring in an experienced guy, like I've said, of Vettel, Perez, or someone midway through a season, because they're contracted to a team. Do they go for Nico Hülkenberg just to kind of see out the season for them? As an experienced driver, he's already proven in the Racing Point that he can get up to standards. It's a shame that he didn't race today, because it would have been really interesting to see, how he would have done. But, as a short-term gap, do they give someone like Nico Hülkenberg like a 6-month contract or however long's left in the season and just say, Alex, go down to... But then where does Alex go? Because you can't then move Kvyat or Gasly out of the seat. It's I really honestly, I don't know what the situation is to do for next. Josh, they need podiums. Hulkenberg shouldn't be on their radar. Absolutely, but I'm trying to think of solutions here because Albon, I think they're, like I said, they're in serious. I think Alex might have some damage. Well, if he's got some damage, it's his own fault. Realistically, he struggled getting past an AlphaTauri for 5 or 6 laps. Pierre Gasly's had an absolutely brilliant race, but yeah, Kvyat could handle the pressure and perform well against Ricciardo. I mean, I thought the time if they were going to promote Kvyat, they needed to promote Kvyat last summer when they promoted Albon. I think Kvyat now, his levels have dropped off a bit. I don't think his performances necessarily merit it. And what does that say to Pierre Gasly, who is now outperforming Kvyat week in, week out? You know, if they're promoting from AlphaTauri again, then they've got to re-promote Gasly. But then is Gasly ready for it? It's they need they need to bring Mika Hakkinen out of retirement, Josh. Exactly. Max is a beast. I nearly fell asleep. I mean, at times you could probably argue in terms of if it was a normal season, then yes, I would say let him go. But the way the season's planning out, they might just have to stick with him. I think so. I think they have to stick with Albon. But, you know, 2 races in a row, 2 very different circuits in Hungary and Silverstone. He's been off the pace and, you know, going out in Q2 as opposed to his teammate getting into Q3. And, you know, his teammate, and he was 4 tenths behind his teammate. And Albon was on the soft compound compared to Max, who comfortably got through on the medium compound. So his qualifying's way off. That seems to be getting worse as things stand. And in the races, he just looks shot of confidence. So if this just builds in, week out, if you stick him to the rest of the season, Alex Albon's F1 career might be over. And I'm not trying to be dramatic here in terms of it, but F1 is such a confident sport. And, you know, it's such a mentally draining sport because you're in the spotlight. He's in the second best car on the grid. All eyes are on him. Your performances are being compared against to probably the second best driver in form-wise on the grid right now behind Lewis Hamilton with Max Verstappen. And, you know, so every week you're going to look probably bad, but you've got to be doing more than what you're doing. And, you know, he was basically on the verge of tears when Hamilton and him collided in Austria. So that was when he thought that he was in the right. When his performances keep going down and down, man, I feel for the kid because, you know, he's a young guy. And Red Bull, at the end of the day, what can Red Bull do? They're publicly supporting him. They're saying that they came out after Hungary and said that his clear air pace was good. They're happy with where he's going. They're clearly not happy with where he's going because his performances aren't good enough. But I don't know. JB, I've no idea what happened to Raikkonen. That was a weird one. We only kind of got like half a replay of him going through maggots and Beckett's with his wing falling off. But there. Tom D, really impressive performance with Ocon today, actually. Credit where credit's due. He'd struggled on the pace for the first 3 races of the season. But today was a good performance. Over there, Shivam to Max is the problem, remove him. Yes, I know you're trolling in terms of comment, but I've seen stupid comments like that. You know, they're going, Max makes everyone look bad. Well, Max is performing what a top-class driver should do. Surely you'd want to be compared yourself to a top driver. And crazy on that front. Pastor Maldonado, welcome to the chat. I hope you're in kind of discussions for a return to go from there. If Christian Horner is serious, he will put me in that Red Bull seat. Absolutely, Pastor. Couldn't agree more for you. Thanks for jumping in on the chat. Hope. Where are you at the moment? You in Colombia, just having a good time? How are things out there? 30-point lead for Hamilton. I mean, for me today, unless the development race somehow manages to close the gap to Mercedes and Mercedes keep having problems in races like their gearbox in Austria. But even, you know, they've had their gearbox issue in Austria Alex Albon wasn't able to take advantage and get the win in Austria. They've had the tyre failures today. Max Verstappen they weren't able to get the strategy that got Max Verstappen the win. P2 still good, but Lewis, on a day where his tyre is blown up, has still extended his lead in the championship, which is crazy. Going from there. Yeah, JB, that was an interesting one from there. David Xavier, hi, David. Welcome for the chin. No problem for being late into it. James May, is it a gamble to make a try for Hamilton next week? Maybe potentially on that performance, but he still won the race. And there's one thing that you say with Mercedes is they learn from their mistakes quickly. So if they're having tyre problems this week, you definitely feel like it's not going to be to the same extent next week. So yeah, it should be good with hopefully no more double headers in the rest of the season, because then, that's something that genuinely brings something into play. Anchit is awesome. Sonoda and Daruvla, to an extent, are doing well, but they wouldn't get after. I mean, Sonoda and Daruvla are nowhere near F1 ready in terms of that. Their stuff, the guy who is F1 ready or deserves a shot in F1 isn't part of their program anymore, and that's Dan Ticktum in the Williams Academy, which obviously, congratulations to him for his first sprint race win on there. 2 stops for sure next week, Ewok from Ender, maybe even potentially there. Sebastian Vettel in chat couldn't concentrate on the race because I was looking forward to this stream so much. Well, thanks, Seb. I'm really glad, that the race stream's what you look forward to. But yeah, I still think maybe concentrate a little bit more on the racing for there. How has it got so bad with Sebastian Vettel? I was watching the Channel 4 commentary over here in the UK, and Mark Webber said he had a chat with him off camera. And Vettel just says that he's got no confidence there, that the team aren't filling in with any confidence that they can kind of fix what's wrong with his car. It's sad to see Sebastian Vettel in terms of there. His performances haven't necessarily been what they need to be. We have to look at Sebastian Vettel's performances. They haven't been what they needed to be over the past 2.5 years, certainly. But at the moment, the car is massively letting him down as well. And there's such a massive disparity. I mean, again, as much as I criticise Albon and Verstappen, I mean, Vettel's car looks more horrific to drive than Alexander Albon's, in my opinion. But there has to be some extent of criticism. Maybe the Ferrari situation's a little bit different because Charles Leclerc obviously is the golden boy, the guy to lead Ferrari in the future, and Vettel won't be with Ferrari next season. But I don't even think that they can afford to sabotage their own driver. But yeah, with Alex Albon, Red Bull were doing everything to give him there, and it's crazy on there. Josh Relf, they may very well call Tickton back into the program. Marco is known for backflipping on drivers. I mean, yeah, at this stage, they don't have anyone else who's going to go into an AlphaTauri seat. And yeah, crazy. Do they stick with Kvyat and Albon next year? Because Albon, I don't think will be in a Red Bull seat there for now. I don't know how Seb is 10th in charges on the podium. Yeah, I mean, if you I looked at the interviews with Seb and Charles, and it was just completely different in terms of the scales. And like Vettel just looked broken. He looked lost for work. He's like, I don't know what's happening. I've got no confidence. Where Charles going, yeah, I'm really happy with where the car is. It feels really good this weekend. Goes from there. It can't all be disparity in setup. It's crazy on that. You think Seb is sabotaging Ferrari because he signed with Racing Point and he's pissed about Ferrari? No, not a chance, Matthew. But, well, welcome to the chat. Thanks for coming in terms of that. Mike said at the start of the season he wants Albon to do badly so he can turbo him. I did say that. I did say that, but not this badly. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, what Albon's going through at the moment. I was really wanting him to come into this weekend. Josh was predicting a podium for him. And it would have been brilliant to see Alex Albon kind of lift the pressure that's building on his shoulders and, to kind of take it on the chin and be like, you know what, I'm fighting for this Red Bull seat and I can perform and I can get the performances that are needed in a Red Bull. But this weekend was awful for Albon. Simple said, he's got points, but that flatters to deceive and papers over the cracks. Craig Taggart, yeah, I think we have a heat wave So that will make the race very interesting. Wouldn't be surprised if you hear teams tell drivers to stay off the curbs and avoid tyre grind. Yeah, I mean, yeah, very interesting next week. Very interesting. That tyre is going to be so interested. So interesting on that. I mean, Mark Webber, I think, summed it up perfectly with Sebastian Vettel going back to him and his problems. You know, we saw in qualifying, after a qualifying run, that he, you know, had his hand in the front of the car trying to figure out what was going wrong in terms of the balance at the front of the car. When the driver's trying to fix some things in the car, you know things are bad because he's got no from there. Typical Holbert now. Oh, JB, I've seen your album comment there. Lance Stroll, I did badly on purpose so that Josh Reddell's video made me age badly. Oh dear. Oh, quick, better plug in. Again, forgetting to put the charger in. I'll make sure I do it so I don't die on stream for you guys. Honestly, have Red Bull protested Merck for not pulling over? I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Nothing's come through. So I presume race result is as it stands. Hamilton 1, Verstappen 2, and Charles Leclerc 3. Overtaking is almost impossible today. I think that's an important point because the second safety car really stuffed it because you didn't really see a window where tyre performances, undercuts, overcuts coming into play, and then kind of people trying to go on a longer strategy and everything, because that second safety car allowed them all to pit at the same time. So it was difficult with this safety car. The second safety car really stitched up a great race from there. Kids Love F1, Bono, my charger is gone, absolutely. And congratulations to Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton on his 7th Formula One World Championship. I mean, Amazi, you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. Unless some unusual circumstance that Red Bull somehow can get that car, Max Verstappen, competing for wins this season, Lewis Hamilton has pretty much got it in the bag for me. Because Bottas needed to keep the pressure on as long as possible. And through no fault of his own, Bottas has dropped away today because his tyre gave in, and that's go from there. But yeah, JB, I think I saw Kids Love F1 make that tweet, Bono, my tyres are dead. It's got a whole new meaning now, hasn't it? I mean, everyone is going to laugh when they see that and go, well, are they, Lewis? Because we've seen you at Silverstone when you've got your front tyre burst, your front left tyre burst. That's when your tyres are really gone in terms of that going. Ferrari has removed something from Seb's car and put it on Charles' car. I don't believe in kind of sabotaging theories too much, but there's something quite amiss from there. Albon needs a season outside the pressure. Absolutely. He was far too early for that seat, and he needs to be an AlphaTauri ASAP. Anyone know what took out Kimi's front wing? No, that is one of the biggest mysteries. If someone can figure that out in chat, what actually happened to Kimi Raikkonen's front wing, that would be fascinating, I think, on that front. It certainly would be an interesting one. Oh dear, Sim Dane, I've just seen come up. If anyone hasn't checked out Sim Dane's kind of comical songs about F1 drivers, I'd highly recommend it. They are very funny from there. I heard it just broke off for Kimi Raikkonen. Wow. Go from there. Joseph O'Shaughnessy, Perez or Vettel? That's a difficult question because Vettel's performances, is it just because things have gone so bad at Ferrari? Would a fresh start bring back a Sebastian Vettel that we saw in his early Ferrari days and Red Bull days? I don't know. I honestly don't. Perez is set in that team. Like somebody said earlier, it would have been fascinating to see how Perez would have done this weekend, and it's so frustrating, that he contracted the virus, but he ran the risk and it goes from there. How many points have you scored this weekend? 1 for 1 for me. I don't want to look at my points because I had Magnussen in there. I had Hulkenberg in there as a turbo driver because it didn't save my turbo pit going across to Lance Stroll. And Mercedes having that Bottas thing. Who actually would have been the best constructor? I think Renault might be up there in constructors because they're the only ones who kind of had a double points finish. Well, Ferrari did, but a double decent points finish, that one. So from the start, they should have promoted Kvyat over Albon. I always feared another Red Bull's driver career ruined. I think that's starting to look the case. I said that it should have been Kvyat last summer over Albon. I thought Albon did okay last season, but he needed a kind of kick on. I think I said in my end of season review for him, and he hasn't certainly done that as they go through now. Actually, there's a former Toro Rosso test driver. No, don't bring up Sean Gallal, Josh. Don't bring up Sean Gallal. You are just here to troll me in the comments, Josh. I do love it. Brat, never heard so many complaints about a slow safety car in a race before. Wonder if that was some way impossible responsible for last lap drama. Potentially, because it is all about keeping the tyres. The tyres are fragile about keeping them in particular windows. So potentially, but he was all over the back of it. I don't know. That would be an interesting one. I had Hulk and Stroll Turbo and Mercedes. Understeer, Carlos loses his streak. Yeah, not great. Probably Renault, yeah, would have been the best. Mercedes would have probably been decent with Hamilton win. Battle for second to sixth is close in the constructors. Absolutely. Very interesting because Albon's performances aren't, warranting enough to support Max's. Max is getting great through there. Thoughts on Italian Jesus at this stage? I think Giovinazzi actually didn't look like he was having a bad race. He got a 5-second penalty for a safety car infringement, which seems pretty schoolboy error on that front. But at one point, he was within a second of Sebastian Vettel, wasn't he? So, yeah, Giovinazzi wasn't having a bad race, and then I think it just tailed off towards the end. Giovinazzi's got to do more than that, to be fair, because he's got Robert Schwartzman, Mick Schumacher, and Callum Ilott waiting in the wings. I know, obviously, Callum Ilott, Robert Schwartzman, Mick obviously didn't have the best of weekends there, so it relieves the pressure a little bit. But, all three are going to be vying for that position in the Alfa Romeo. If Kimi retires, Kimi looks like he probably will retire. Looking how bad that Alfa Romeo is, I don't see him really kind of being positive turning up unless he's really got his heart set on competing in 2022. I don't know. But yeah, yes, Max Booth, Mahavir obviously is the natural choice for Red Bull. Definitely should be in that seat ahead of thing. Blue flag Alpha, Vettel back to Red Bull. He would be the experienced guy, I'd say, but I don't think it's going to happen here. Hamilton doesn't want anyone in front of him. Can DAS be a reason for both Mercedes' tyre puncture? No, I wouldn't say so, because obviously the McLarens don't have DAS and Sainz is one. I just think those tyres were very much on the edge. What do Alfa need? The experience of someone like Perez or the youth and pace of someone like Schwartzman? If Alfa Romeo want to be a competitive team, they need the experience of someone like Perez. But I think the Alfa Romeo Sauber is just there for a whipping boy and to be Ferrari's B team. I know they only technically have one seat as opposed to the 2 seats that AlphaTauri has for Red Bull. But it essentially is a junior team for Ferrari. So probably Schwartzman, if I'm being honest with you. I think Alpha is just purely there to let youth drivers. What was it back in Manor Racing? Esteban Ocon, Pascal Wehrlein were just 2 junior drivers in a team. I can see Alfa Romeo Sauber going that way, to be honest. So we spent quite a lot of the race behind the safety car, especially the first part from there. Alfa Haas will be picking up Hülkenberg, Perez, Albon next year. Grosjean for me will be out of F1 next year. I don't think his heart's in F1 anymore. He doesn't look like a guy who's fighting to drive that Haas to being competitive. Kevin Magnussen is, but yeah, for Haas, Grosjean that's gone. Alpha. So yeah, I can definitely see Perez, Hülkenberg definitely being there. Depends on Hülkenberg's wages, but I wonder if Hülkenberg will take a pay cut just to come back into the sport to be the experienced driver. Joseph O'Shaughnessy, Max, who would be a Red Bull in that case? Josh, Grosjean and Kimi. Like I said, question for Mike. Why don't Red Bull snap up Ferrari juniors who don't get a seat? Could do. Every possibility. They're better than their juniors at the moment. But I suppose if you start snapping up the talent from other people's academy, there's a lot of kind of pride in Formula One. And Red Bull, obviously, they didn't want to hire Carlos Sainz for the Red Bull seat, losing out to Daniel Ricciardo because they didn't want Renault to have their guy that they wanted in Ricciardo and Red Bull to have the Renault reject in Carlos Sainz. Would Carlos Sainz have been better in that Red Bull seat? Potentially. Would have been more experienced. Would he have been better than both Gasly and Albon? Probably would have done a better job. He's the only teammate who's kind of really pushed Verstappen, but that was a long time ago in their first years from there. Mick Schumacher in F1, they should do it from Craig Taggart. I think in Mick's performances goes, he didn't have another great weekend, did Mick. He really is having one of those kind of shoddy luck ones, but like I say, you probably always make your own luck and go from there. Grosjean was more looking forward to vacation than racing. Magnussen was the exact opposite. Absolutely, I think, David. I think that pretty much sums up the mentality of the two. Go from there. Red Bull are very stubborn to the point that it hurts Red Bull. From Joseph O'Shaughnessy, yes, absolutely. I think Red Bull are making decisions that I've said it before. Red Bull as a team, it's not Mercedes' fault that they're dominating the sport. It's Ferrari and Red Bull's fault for not building a car that can compete with them over the course of a season. And I don't care about this budget issue. If you use your budget smarter, yes, the budget plays a big part. And the Mercedes are a great operating team. They're fantastic. It's incredibly hard to beat Mercedes. Ferrari have pretty much the same budget as Mercedes, so there's no excuse there. Ferrari have just found ways of kind of stuffing it up. And Red Bull just haven't made the best decisions. And they alienate their drivers. They haven't managed the driver relationship too well. Going to Honda was a risk. It may be a risk that pays off in the end. It's certainly better. Looks reliability, but that Renault engine is certainly pushed up again. So if they stuck with it and worked with it, but I think that relationship was just beyond repair. But maybe it wasn't Renault that was the issue in the partnership there. Maybe it was Red Bull. I don't know. I'm just putting things out there in terms of it. I just think Red Bull needed to start the season off well here. This was their big shot to challenge Mercedes. And I think Aldas tweeted before the Grand Prix, because a lot of people go, Mercedes dominating, it's boring, it's not the fault of other teams. But yeah, it's crazy just thinking. I think, Aldas' tweet said that Red Bull were 0.1 seconds slower at Silverstone than they were last year, and Ferrari were 0.3 seconds slower overall, where Mercedes were 0.7 seconds quicker. I mean, that says it all. That's your level of development. And I guess when you're behind, you have to try things, and if they don't come off, then you suffer for it. Jean-Eric Verne was unlucky as well. Yeah, there's plenty of Red Bull drivers. They've had a good caliber of driver in Red Bull, and now they're going through a bit of a lull where I don't think the talent was as good as what it used to be coming through, and they're suffering the consequences on track for that. Oh God, Joseph has got me a question: Honda or Renault? Knee-jerk reactions in their junior program too. Some of the junior drivers have no idea why they signed them. It's been a complete mess where the last couple of years. Absolutely, it's gone from there. Mike's Ferrari budget is 150 mil more than Merck. You see, there you go. Budget can't be an issue for why other teams haven't been able to match Mercedes. It's just Mercedes utilise their budget a lot more. Joseph, I've seen your question on Honda or Renault. I will talk about that afterwards. Wow, we've been going for 50 minutes already. It's crazy on there. Josh, at this stage, they may as well chance someone with like Rene Rast, who wins like anything he touches. Absolutely. Hey, why not go for Yamamoto? Honda are desperate for a Japanese driver. He's done fantastic. He's I think, the only driver to have won Super GT and Super Formula. Had the testing, was decent pace-wise. I know only in the Toro Rosso last year, but heck, it's the type of things that Red Bull kind of having to start to think outside the box on things, because it really isn't a great situation. But we're talking about this, but one of their drivers has still managed to get P2 today. And it should have realistically been a double podium for them. Merckx already won the title. Yep. I don't think there's any doubt in that, unless some radical improvement happens in the other teams, which would be crazy. Nathan, attaboy, good to see you back in chat. I think Red Bull should give Gasly a second chance. Potentially. Naoki Yamanote, Nick Cassidy, Sean Galal, talented. Oh, Josh, when will you stop trolling? I didn't realise that Stroll was P9. I thought he was 7th. Really disappointing as my turbo. Stroll massively disappointing today, and I think today puts Stroll's performance, will put them in a little bit more perspective. Like I said, we're going to need a couple of races because McLaren and Renault both brought upgrades to this race. But if those upgrades over the next couple of races, or 3 or 4, because obviously, we've got Silverstone next week as well. If those upgrades don't look like, or look like that they've put themselves ahead of Racing Point, maybe it isn't the worst, but Stroll's tyres dropped off a flipping cliff at the end. He was going to be outside the points if it wasn't for Bottas and Sainz's tyre failures. But yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy. I think Red Bull should take Vettel, Hulk, Perez, Gasly or Sainz, or even try off a Danny Rick equal status. I mean, some of those drivers are massively already in contract somewhere. But yes, Joseph, they definitely need experience. I think it will be 2022 before they close the gap to Mercedes, especially Ferrari. They basically is sacked next season off. Yeah, I mean, with how much the advantage is, Red Bull is the only one realistically. They can't win a Constructors currently as things stands. But if somehow they can find, and Red Bull are very good at developing a car through the season, and with it pretty much being the same for 2021, 2021 isn't necessarily out of possibility that Red Bull could build a championship winning car for Max. I'm ignoring that one, Josh. Turbo Norris, go from there. We'll talk about fancy there. Checo might off be on the podium, as Checo might not have messed up the quali lap and would have looked after the tyres better. Yeah, like I say, welcome Carola to the chat. Welcome to the chat. I was yelling at the TV, but good on Hamilton. Yeah, crazy impressive from Hamilton to kind of finish that race in the end. Right, sorry, I think it was Joseph who asked me. He said, Renault or Honda, what would I have chosen? This is difficult because Renault for me is clearly the better engine. Red Bull or Honda is maybe the better project. So I don't know, as soon as Red Bull signed with Honda, they basically went, until the rule regulations happen, we're ruling out going for a title. I don't know on that. The Honda's not too far behind the Renault, but the relationship's a lot better. I think for Red Bull, they've made the right decision going with Honda. But the problem is that Mercedes engine was pushed so much by the Ferrari engine that had to make adjustments so that it's now legal for the 2020 season that we're having, has meant that Mercedes then pushed their engine to another level. That I think one of the main differences we're seeing this year is just the Mercedes power unit. It's just massively improved. Crazy on that. So I think Honda was the right option, but I don't think Renault are bad. And I wouldn't rule out Renault in 2022 as a manufacturer, because they've got Fernando Alonso. A proven champion, still very, very talented driver. They've got an engine that's improving. Daniel Ricciardo's proving that it can still be competitive within the race. P4 for Daniel Ricciardo today. Fantastic. Go from there. But yeah, the Renault is the more powerful engine. My question would be, would they have had to take as much risks with the aero trying to catch up with Mercedes if they had still had the Renault engine that now looks more reliable and in a better place? And obviously working in that partnership, would the Renault engine have developed quicker anyway with the Red Bull team? I don't know, if there was any way that relationship was salvageable. Would Red Bull be often in a better position today if they had that engine rather than Honda? Probably, but I don't know, because Cyril and Christian Horner go together like chalk and cheese. They certainly wouldn't go from there. Merck, the Renault, then Honda, and then, yep, Joseph, then the Ferrari one. The Force Indies race harder on Fridays than on Sundays, a wise man once said. Potentially. I've been researching when the contracts run out for each track, and I haven't been able to find much information. Any ideas? I think pretty much most of them are on yearly contract. Well, not actually. Monza and Silverstone renewed for a good few years, but quite a few are probably up from there. Still I Rise, Albon's fault. I presume that's just in relation to the incident, jumping in on chat on that one. Yep. His fault for me. I'd love Merck, McLaren, Ferrari, Renault, Red Bull, and Aston Martin to all battle in 2022. It would be fantastic, but you're relying on Mercedes to get regulations wrong. And as good as they are, as good as Lewis Hamilton's has been, would you put it past Lewis Hamilton? He said he's going to race into 2022. Would you put it past him to not win in 2022? The guy just is unstoppable at the moment. Yes, he's got an unbelievable car ahead of him, but still in that, he's putting in unbelievable performances. Joseph, we spoke about this a lot, but I would replace Albon with an experienced driver, whether that be Vettel, whether that be Perez. Magnussen's an outside shot in terms of that. I would go definitely an experienced driver in that other Red Bull seat. And it would depend. Vettel all depends on whether you think he's done in Formula One, whether you think he can't live up to performances. If you think that, then let him go to Aston Martin and sign Sergio Perez, because I think Sergio Perez as a driver would fit perfectly. He would be the Mark Webber to Max Verstappen being early Sebastian Vettel. That's what it would go in terms of that. Obviously, oh dear, tell you what, Drive to Survive is going to be cracking next year. Absolutely, Max. It's going to be absolutely mental. Go from there. I've heard that Hamilton's lap would have been in the 107% rule of Schumacher's pole in 2002. Bear in mind the cars and a lot shorter track in 2002 at Silverstone. Wow, that's quick. Go from there. Hamilton had his tyre going earlier. It would have been a Ricciardo podium. Yeah, it would have been a lot of things, but just manages to hang on to the end. Just manages that little. He got lucky, I think, that it was Bottas' tyre that went first. Well, obviously he got lucky that it was Bottas' tyre went first, because he would have dropped back with his performance there. But with Bottas' tyre going and not them going at the same time, it meant that Hamilton was able to ease off a little bit, which I think got his tyre to the end. Craig Taggart, I don't think Vettel is done in F1. I just think he's fed up with Ferrari and just wants out. I think Vettel had this fairy tale in his head what Ferrari would be. He loved Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher was his hero. He wanted to go to Ferrari and he wanted to win world championships with Ferrari. That didn't work out. So, and he speaks like a man who's driven and still wants to contribute something to this sport. So if I was Red Bull, I would go, that's a man with something to prove. I don't think Ferrari having him was actually a bad idea. I think Carlos Sainz and Sebastian Vettel is a much better partnership than Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. So, yeah, I think if Red Bull was smart, they'd be getting on the phone to Sebastian Vettel and be going, come home. You said money's not an issue. Okay, this is what we can afford. Can you take that? Let's do something together and really push. Because Red Bull, if they're going to have any chance of starting to beat and match Mercedes, is that they've got to have two drivers pushing and absolutely going gung-ho. And at the moment, they've only got one. Sorry, not Vettel Sainz. Vettel Leclerc is better than Leclerc Sainz, is what I mean. Sorry, Joseph, for confusion if I said that wrong. Vettel will race the Racing Point next year. If it's absolutely not perfect for him, he'll just walk away. I don't see what would make him stay. Absolutely. I think he wants a challenge, whether that be Red Bull, Racing Point. Racing Point / Aston Martin seems the most likely. You see, Josh, that's an interesting one. I don't want to put my bias because obviously I rate Kimi Raikkonen very highly. He's still done things within Formula One that you go, the guy's still got it as a driver. And with Ferrari, he actually probably had one of his better seasons in the Ferrari in 2018. Obviously getting that race win in the USA come the end of the season. So if they thought Kimi Raikkonen could do a job for a season to the new regulations in 2022, why not Kimi? Because Kimi's proven that he could be a good wingman. He didn't quite do what was needed in 2017, but in 2018 he was more than a good wingman to Sebastian Vettel when they had the car beneath him. So Kimi Raikkonen wouldn't be the worst one to rule out for that Red Bull seat. It sounds stupid and it sounds very backwards. And I know all the people who want young drivers to come into the sport would be angry that a 41-year-old is getting a seat. But heck, that 41-year-old is still in the top drivers in the sport. And, you know, heck, he's very good. His qualifying has dropped off, which is my only issue with Kimi. But then is Kimi only's performances dropping off because that Alfa Romeo is so poor? When he had a competitive Alfa Romeo in the first half of last season, he was very strong. I don't know. That would be an interesting one in terms of that. I think Raikkonen would be more of a risk from me. But yeah, Kimi probably will retire. Vettel and Ferrari were such a great relationship at the beginning. Well, I'll tell you what went wrong with Ferrari and Vettel. Arriva got sacked. I think we would have seen a lot different 2019 and 2020 season with Ferrari if Arriva had kept his job. I think Mattia Binotto has gone in, wanted to make his own stamp, made some poor decisions. It may not be him because there's a hierarchy at Ferrari. Like Kids Love F1 says, Marchione dying was a big thing for Ferrari. He was quite a strong leadership, driving Ferrari in the right direction. But yeah, I do think there's a clear deterioration in the relationship in terms of that. I think, Arriva Bene, sorry, got that now. I do think they had a really good setup with Seb and Kimi, and I think if they kept it for 2018 and then kept the pressure up in 2019, I think Ferrari would be closer. But they wanted to get Charles Leclerc in, and obviously he had a good first season, very impressive with his pole positions. Didn't capitalise on as many race victories as he should have gone. But yeah, go for now. David Xavier, the YouTube channel The Race has a video on Vettel and Ferrari relationship for that. Yeah, I'd recommend that because Race, very good guys, kind of journalists there, very experienced F1 journalists there from those guys. Definitely check that out from them. What about Alonso? Alonso's with Renault. He's all in on 2022. And I don't think Alonso and Red Bull would ever work. There's too much history there. There's something about Red Bull and Alonso that just smells car crash for me. Renault and Alonso is a relationship that I think is much more likely to work. And like I said, a lot of people just rule Renault out of the picture for 2022. But Renault have a lot of things going in their favour. They're making good developments in the car. The engine looks more reliable. It looks a decent engine. It's improving. It's the second best one behind Mercedes. They're the manufacturer team. So obviously they don't have to worry about any customer parts in terms of that. Yes, they are slightly behind McLaren. Well, actually, no, because Daniel Ricciardo finished ahead of both McLarens. So proven with the right guy in the car, Renault could be a real threat in 2022. Definitely. And that's not just me fanboying Fernando Alonso. I genuinely think Renault, I know obviously Cyril gets a lot of stick and he's probably not the best man for the job. And if they do fall short, it's probably because they've got Cyril Abiteboul at the head of the team. But they are quietly making some very good decisions, going about their business well and looking like a proper cohesive team outfit. And if I'm being honest with you, McLaren and Renault look the best to challenge in 2022. How they go. Screw it. Red Bull should just clone Max and put him into the second seat. We're going in circles. Absolutely. Absolutely. Renault are a works team, safe bet. Absolutely go from there. But anyway, guys, we've been going for over an hour. That's crazy. So unless there's kind of any major points that you want to talk about in the race, remember that driver ratings will be out tomorrow. And actually, we have a special guest joining us for driver ratings for tomorrow. So make sure you kind of tune in 6 p.m. UK time for that one. And the race review podcast, where we'll go through things in a lot more detail with each of the teams. We'll go from there. But yes, guys, a fantastic chat. A mental end to the British Grand Prix. Absolutely crazy how that one unfolded. Hopefully we're full with lots of drama there. Congratulations on Lewis Hamilton becoming a 7-time world champion. I was almost about to say world champion, but can we say it this early that Lewis Hamilton is world champion? He pretty much looks it. Max Verstappen, another great race. Charles Leclerc getting on a podium. Cannot believe that. Daniel Ricciardo, brilliant race. But go from there. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for your one more thing. Next week race should be go from there. Anyway, how do you get into Rate My Team? Max, just comment either to me on Twitter, which is fanatics_F1, or comment on the last F1 Fantasy Weekly saying Rate My Team, and I will, me and Stephen will rate your team from there. Bernd Mayland holding up Lewis. I know, right? Bernd was just trying to take all the glory on that front. But anyway, guys, it has been a fantastic stream. Thank you, as always, for coming on to this live stream, having great discussions in that. Love it. The chat's getting busier and busier. It's getting harder to keep up with you guys, but it's brilliant on that front. Love having these discussions with you. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Hope you enjoyed the race in the end. Like we said, there was kind of long periods where it was fairly dull, and the second safety car looked like it stitched up all the action. But good old Pirelli tyres failing on us. Wasn't it Silverstone in around about 2011 that they all blew up? It was something before that they'd all blown up. But anyway, yes, crazy on that front. But guys, that's it. I'm going to round off the stream for today. We've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes now. Thank you so much for everyone going from there. If you've liked the stream, don't forget, if you haven't already, give it a thumbs up. Helps us out on that front. Drop us a subscribe as well to kind of keep up with all our content. If you're not, if you're new to the channel and don't follow us already, much appreciate that on that front. But I will see you tomorrow for driver ratings. I will see you on Tuesday for the race review podcast. But until Friday, where we've got another live stream with the F1 Weekly News Show, I'll catch you guys later. So for now, you F1 fans, Keep racing.